Data Infrastructure Trust declared distribution of 2.2090 rupees. The 29th of May 2023. DB Corp Limited. Second interim dividend of 3 rupees for FY 2223. The 31st of May 2023. Alchem Laboratories Limited. Recommended final dividend of 10 rupees. The 10th of August 2023. NG Industries Limited. Recommended dividend of 3.50 rupees. Kirloskar Oil Engines Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2.50 rupees. Motherson Sumi Wiring India Limited. Recommended dividend of 0.65 rupees. The Ramco Cements Limited. Record date for vote at AGM. The 3rd of August 2023. Root Mobile Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2 rupees. India Motor Parts and Accessories Limited. Dividend of 15 rupees. Godrej Industries Limited. AGM. Bandhan Bank Limited. Recommended dividend of 1.50 rupees. IB Infrastructure Developers Limited. Approved second interim dividend of 0.075 rupees. The 29th of May 2023. Apcatex Industries Limited. AGM and dividend. The 12th of June 2023. Talbris Engineering Limited. Recommended dividend of 2 rupees. JSW Steel Limited. Recommended final dividend of 3.40 rupees. Amajyothi Spinning Mills Limited. To recommend dividend 29/5. Sigachi Industries Limited. To recommend dividend 25/5. HBL Power Systems Limited. To consider dividend 25/5. Frontier Springs Limited. To consider recommendation of dividend 30/5. Punjab National Bank. AGM. And dividend. The 23rd of June 2023. Abbott India Limited. Recommended payment of final dividend of 180 rupees. The 21st of July 2023. Special dividend of 145 rupees. Vinati Organics Limited. Recommended final dividend of 7 rupees. Mayur Uniquotas Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2 rupees. National Fertilizers Limited. Consider payment of interim dividend 29/5. LG Equipments Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2 rupees. Mangalam Cement Limited. To recommend dividend 27/5. Minda Corporation Limited. AGM and dividend. The 21st of July 2023. Albert David Limited. Recommended dividend 9 rupees. The 3rd of August 2023. Power Grid Corporation of India Limited. Recommended final dividend of 4.75 rupees. Rolkan Engineering Co Limited. Recommended dividend of 2 rupees. VLS Finance Limited. To recommend dividend 27/5. Meenakshi Aluminium Company Limited. Recommended final dividend of 0.05 rupees. Emerald Leasing Finance and Investment Company Limited. Recommended dividend of 0.10 rupees. Pervasive Commodities Limited. Book closure for AGM. Crompton Graves Consumer Electricals Limited. Recommended final dividend of 3 rupees. The 7th of July 2023. AGM. The 22nd of July 2023. ABC India Limited. Declaration of dividend 26/5. NLC India Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2 rupees. Cochin Shipyard Limited. Recommended final dividend of 3 rupees. Gretex Corporate Services Limited. To recommend final dividend 26/5. Advani Hotels and Resorts, India Limited. Declared second interim dividend of 1.40 rupees. The 31st of May 2023. Narayana Hridayalaya Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2.50 rupees. The 7th of July 2023. Wiri Renewable Technologies Limited. Recommendation of dividend of 1 rupees. Damir Bharat Sugar and Industries Limited. Recommended final dividend of 1 rupees. SMC Global Securities Limited. Recommendation of final dividend of 1.20 rupees. Vesica Industries Limited. Recommended final dividend of 0.60 rupees. Wellspun Enterprises Limited. Recommended final dividend of 1 rupees. The 3rd of July 2023. PPAP Automotive Limited. Recommendation of final dividend of 0.50 rupees. Alkali Metals Limited. To consider dividend 27/5. GC Ventures Limited. Recommendation of final dividend 26/5. On Mobile Global Limited. Recommendation of dividend 29/5. Lumax Auto Technologies Limited. To recommend dividend 30/5. Hindustan Copper Limited. Recommended payment of dividend of 0.92 rupees. GRP Limited. To recommend dividend 27/5. Munjal Shoa Limited. To recommend dividend 26/5. Precision Camshafts Limited. To consider final dividend on equity shares 26/5. Allied Digital Services Limited. To consider final dividend 25/5. Asan Technologies Limited. To recommend final dividend 30/5. Softech Engineers Limited. To consider declaration of final dividend 25/5. Supriya Life Insurance Limited. To recommend dividend 26/5. Chandra Prabhu International Limited. To consider final dividend 30/5. Elin Electronics Limited. To consider final dividend 30/5. Greenplay Industries Limited. To consider dividend 26/5. HLE Glascoat Limited. To recommend dividend 29/5. KRBL Limited. To consider final dividend 30/5. Renaissance Global Limited. To consider dividend 26/5. Tay Industries Limited. To recommend dividend 29/5. Archean Chemical Industries Limited. To consider dividend 26/5. Jupiter Wagons Limited. To recommend dividend 25/5. Suraj Products Limited. To consider final dividend 29/5. NG Industries Limited. Recommended dividend of 3.50 rupees. State Bank of India. Declared dividend of 11.30 rupees. Share India Securities Limited. Recommended final dividend of 4.5 rupees. Dilip Bulletin Limited. Recommended dividend of 0.10 rupees. TAJGVK Hotels and Resorts Limited. Recommended dividend of 1 rupees. Arvind Smart Spaces Limited. Recommended final dividend of 1.65 rupees. Remsons Industries Limited. To recommend final dividend 26/5. West Coast Paper Mills Limited. Recommended dividend of 10 rupees. Amine AS and Plasticizers Limited. To consider dividend on equity shares. 29/5. Giant Agro Organics Limited. To recommend dividend on equity shares. 27/5. WPIL Limited. Recommended dividend of 20 rupees. Rashtriya Chemicals and Fertilizers Limited. To consider final dividend. 30/5. Murudeshwar Ceramics Limited. To recommend dividend. 29/5. Daiichi Kakaria Limited. To recommend final dividend. 30/5. Rico Auto Industries Limited. To recommend dividend on equity shares. 29/5. Martin Byrne Limited. To recommend dividend. 29/5. Bajaj Hindustan Sugar Limited. To recommend dividend. 29/5. Aditya Vision Limited. Recommended final dividend of 7.50 rupees. The Phoenix Mills Limited. To recommend dividend. 24/5. Oriental Carbon and Chemicals Limited. Recommended final dividend of 7 rupees. AGM. 27/7. Cravatex Limited. To recommend dividend on equity shares. 26/5. Bandari Hosiery Exports Limited. To consider final dividend. 26/5. Elixir Capital Limited. To consider dividend. 30/5. Subha Limited. To recommend dividend. 29/5. Natural Capsules Limited. To consider dividend. 26/5. Mayur Uniquotas Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2 rupees. Godfrey Phillips India Limited. To recommend final dividend. 27/5. Navkar Urban Structure Limited. To recommend final dividend. 29/5. Star Paper Mills Limited. To consider dividend. 29/5. EPL Limited. Recommended final dividend of 2.15 rupees. Chakra Pharmaceuticals Limited. To recommend final dividend. 29/5. Reco Home Finance Limited. To consider dividend. 26/5. TGV Srark Limited. To consider dividend. 29/5. Krishna Industries Limited. Declaration of final dividend. 27/5. Osam Enterprise Limited. To consider final dividend. 29/5. Amritanjan Healthcare Limited. To declare final dividend. 27/5. PBM Politex Limited. To consider dividend. 29/5. Kanchi Karpuram Limited. To recommend dividend. 27/5. Precision Wires India Limited. To declare final dividend. 27/5. Bombay Burma Trading Corp Limited. To recommend dividend. 26/5. India Pesticides Limited. To consider final dividend. 30/5. Rafala International Limited. To recommend dividend. 29/5. Pondy Oxides and Chemicals Limited. To consider declaration of dividend. 29/5. International Combustion, India Limited. To recommend dividend. 25/5. Ward Wizard Foods and Beverages Limited. To declare dividend. 30/5. Kalma Holdings Limited. To recommend dividend on equity shares. 26/5. Goodyear India Limited. To recommend dividend. 29/5. The High Tech Gears Limited. To consider final dividend on equity shares. 27/5. Andrew Yule and Company Limited. To consider final dividend. 29/5. Optimus Infracom Limited. To consider declaration of interim dividend. 26/5. GE Power India Limited. To recommend dividend. 26/5. PTC India Limited. To consider final dividend. 27/5. Flex Foods Limited. To consider payment of dividend. 26/5. Best Agrolife Limited. To recommend dividend. 29/5. Brightcom Group Limited. To recommend final dividend. 30/5. Praxis Home Retail Limited. Approved rights issue. Ashok Alcochem Limited. Recommended dividend of 1 rupees. AK Capital Services Limited. To consider final dividend. 27/5. Glenmark Pharmaceuticals Limited. Recommended dividend of 2.50 rupees. Shalon Silk Industries Limited. To consider dividend. 26/5. 3M India Limited. To recommend final dividend. 30/5. Bharat Parenterals Limited. To consider final dividend. 20/5. Everest Canto Cylinder Limited. To recommend dividend. 25/5. Thanks for watching. Please thumbs up if you like. Subscribe. Press the bell icon and never miss an update. Share and comment your thoughts on the comment section. And stay tuned with Corporate Actions India.